From the backstretch at Saratoga, this is Loose on the Lead with Steve Byk and Seth Merrow. Loose on the Lead is sponsored by
and a very good Sunday morning. Welcome to Loose on the Lead here from the Saratoga backstretch. Seth Merrow and I have, I think, a fun three guests for you. We're going to start with Michael Lauer, one of the great mid-American horsemen who's in town for the Bowling Green. David Aragona is going to join us in a little bit as well. He also is up from downstate, and then we'll be joined later by Dean Reeves.
Got a couple in today.
Who's got two in today, right? And is plenty busy. It's a real pleasure to have Mike Lauer in town at Saratoga and to join us this morning, running Strong Tide in the Bowling Green. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
How many have you run historically here?
One or two of me.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, consistently. When did you first come here?
35 years ago.
What kind of horse did you bring?
I brought a 25,000 climber. She ran second here.
Nice.
Ran good.
Nice. Mike, of course, well-known Indiana and throughout the Mid-American circuit, and breed and really operate at a wide level. We'll talk about the race in a little bit, but for those that don't know you, Mike, give a little bit of a resume and the background and your entree into the game years ago.
Well, I was born in Ohio. We used to, there's a small town called Hamilton, and they had a half-mile track then. And my father had a horse or two, and I went on to college, and I came out of college and ended up back in Lexington and back on the racetrack and been there ever since.
And, when you talk about Hamilton, I lived in Cincinnati, so I know Hamilton well.
Right next door.
And there's a, I would say, more hotbed. Not that there hasn't been thoroughbred racing in Ohio for a long time. I mean, Cleveland, you had Randall, Thistledown, and
Cranwood.
Wow.
Years ago.
Right, and then downstate, River Downs, now Belterra. But it was really a harness. It's really a harness center.
Yeah, very strong in harness. Because it has the Little Brown Jug,
sure,
which is the
Delaware County Fair.
Yes, which is a part of the Triple Crown for harness.
And a real Americana. For those that when we were an afternoon show on the radio, we used to take the heats.
Yes.
We do the Jugette on Wednesday,
right.
and then all the heats leading up.
The 40 races on Little Brown Jug.
Yeah. Right.
You look at the crowd, and it is an Americana kind of.
Yes, it is. It is. I went to a couple while I was in college, and it was a great time.
For those that aren't harness fans and don't know the culture of the jug, the fans, the local fans, will padlock folding chairs, their lawn chairs, to the fence. Yes. And every year they come back and they either unlock it or they do the combo and they take their chair right off the fence and then they lock it back up again until next year.
Yes. No, it's a great fair atmosphere.
I got to ask, because I'm always curious with trainers, and you mentioned remembering your first one here at the 25 claimer that ran second. You remember your first winner ever?
Yes, a filly for 2,500 at River Downs named Baby Jules, a maiden 2,500.
How many starters had you had before that?
That was my first summer, so I don't really know. I had like 4 horses.
Right. Mike, in terms of you and Penny and the operation, I mean, talk about your view of the state of the game, because it's very interesting things have transpired, and it seemed like you were on the front wave when it came to Indiana. Ohio, which for the longest time looked like it wasn't going to have gaming,
right.
Then all of a sudden they did, and for those that aren't paying attention, things are very good in Ohio. But talk about your evolution in terms of following. They say horses follow money. Talk about how the game from your perspective has developed. We'll talk about some other intrigue, notably the problem that the Heisa Haiwu administration caused you personally. But talk about your thoughts about where we are as an industry.
I think we're in a little bit of a trouble area because things are shrinking. The crop is shrinking. People in the game are shrinking, and small tracks are in trouble. And those are always you need the small tracks. You have to have the small tracks, and that's a big problem, I think. And all the veterinary problems we have now. It's not always the horseman's fault, and they always want to blame the horseman.
We'll circle back to that. And how did you evolve from having having clients, a client base, and then augmenting it with your own breeding and the ones you run on your own?
Well, I always liked the brood mare, and so we got a mare or two, and it just evolved. And I thought, when you're in Kentucky and there's 12,000 foals, and you got one, and you're by a $5,000 stud, you're way in the back seat of this. So I looked for state programs, which will move a $20,000 horse up to allowance or stake horse. And we bred some in Ohio, and then then when Indiana started, we started breeding there. And then when they got gambling, the purses multiplied, and everything's gone great since. And I breed a mare or two in New York each year.
Nice.
So the state programs have been great to us.
And of course, they're also a godsend to the racing office.
Yes,
because they augment the cards. And
they fill.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't scratch.
Yeah.
They can pour down 6 days, and they're running. And that's here, there. I mean, that's New York. That's Ohio. That's anywhere. They run.
Yeah. How many broodmares do you have in total?
It's a bad question.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, somewhere around 17 or 18.
Okay,
but that's going to get reduced, as my wife says.
You're going to trim the sails a little.
Trim the sails, yes.
It brings up an interesting sidebar, especially with the two sales coming up in the next 2 weeks. Let's say you've got a base of 18 broodmares.
Yeah.
What is the yield ultimately out of 18 on average in terms of surviving foals that get either to market or to the racetrack?
90.
Is that
90%?
All right, so 15 out of 18.
I mean, we won't get 90% in full, but if they're born at 90%,
you can get them either to market or to the racetrack.
Yes.
What's your policy in terms of what you sell and what you keep to race?
What sires are hot now that it might sell better? What foals will sell better? The earlier foals usually market better than later foals.
Strictly on size and maturity.
Size and maturity. If somebody gets hot at the track and there's a half brother or sister, we'll try that.
Yeah. So you're not just keeping the fillies and selling the colts.
No.
All right.
No.
Well, Mike has had tremendous success for decades. And before we talk about the race and about let's visit the Heisa Haiwu topic. Usually I'm at the HBPA convention, and you're frequently there. We followed your story closely.
Right.
Ultimately, the problem that you were flagged for has now been set aside for everybody else. The metformin issue, George Weaver, probably the most recent cause celeb and the most high-profile case. But talk about what this cost you, what your experience was, because it's cautionary for horsemen and all stakeholders. Right.
Well, I've been on metformin for 20, 25 years. So it never became a problem until last summer one day when they told me I had a positive, and then it basically sends you right through hell. at that time. The only one that's gotten worse than I have is Jonathan Wong, who's still in court or in something. He's served over a year already.
Yeah.
And they intimidate you. They, I don't want to say harass, but it's right on the edge of it. And they drug it out, and finally they offered me a settlement. And it wasn't, I mean, it was either settle or, as my lawyer said, they're going to ask for an extension, and this is going to be another 60 days. So I took the $2,600 fine, and I'd already served 80% of the suspension.
How much did it cost you?
60, 70, 80,000 plus about 3 customers, three.
You had 3 clients take
yes.
courses.
Yes.
And they have. I mean, was it a matter of expediency in terms of getting, moving the horses so that, they could continue to run, or was it a matter of them, thinking that, Mike's not on the up and up?
I don't know. It might have been both. I mean, because we moved all the horses to other trainers.
Right, because they had to disband, technically.
Yes. And we paid them, or my wife paid them. We changed the stable to her name completely. So I was out of it. Which 10, 20 years ago, they wouldn't allow that. Wife went down with they went down together, yes.
Yeah.
Which I've never understood that. But.
Well, especially when it's both are horsemen.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter if you get a traffic violation. Your wife's not going to court.
That's a good point. Right. Even if she was in the car,
right,
telling you to slow down.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of slowing down, it looks like I appreciate the opportunity to ask you about it. Today's Bowling Green. Let's talk about Strong Tide. And Mike has informed us that both Mike Maker has come out of this with Segoy, as well as Mark Hasse with Strong Quality. And they both were going to provide some pace.
Yeah, that changes the race drastically. It's a new race, basically.
I'll say to the guys, we have a replay at Louisville, which is a couple starts back for Strong Tide. Subsequently, in the Y stand, you ran 3rd behind Ottoman Fleet and Chasing the Crown, but this was a nice performance going back to May for Strong Tide down at Churchill.
Yes. No, I thought he was a winner for a step or two, but he could never get by Mike Maker's horse, who set the pace the whole way.
And again, you came out of this and went in the Y stand. I think we have a replay of that too, running 3rd. So did you come out of the Y stand kind of shooting for the race this afternoon?
Yes, I did. Yes, it was between this and the Arlington Million, and I thought, well, let's try this.
Mike, this is a homebred, and out of a pure prize mare, Dreamin' Big is an English Channel who are so durable and rangy, and this is his 44th career start. 10 wins. He's made $880,000. So a win today is going to put him
over $1 million.
Over $1 million, absolutely is.
And then he'd be the first Indiana bred.
He'd be the first millionaire?
Yes.
Oh, that's tremendous. That's tremendous. He's been super consistent. Grade 1 placed.
Right.
And a graded stake. I mean, he probably is going to get a chance to stand anyway, somewhere. Right. I mean, you've had inquiries?
Yes. Not really, no. English channels aren't, they have a little bit of plotter in them.
Well, but he would be an ideal regional. He'd be an ideal Indiana sire.
Yes, he would be a steeplechase sire too.
How about that?
I mean, if you look at him, he's a big rangy horse that would suit the jumpers. Well, I've always thought that.
Do you have Sean? I'll give you Sean Clancy's number.
Yes,
Clancy, I'll introduce you today.
Yeah, I have no Clancy. Quite the character.
No, exactly. But what's amazing about him is, he has maintained this form.
Yes.
For basically 5 years.
Yes. Yeah. He's an amazing horse. He's by far the best I've ever had, and. He just does everything easily.
Siblings?
We have a Liam's Map yearling,
Ooh.
And that's the mare has a little production problem.
She's missed
Yes.
some years?
Yes, the last couple years.
Just fertility, or?
She got in full this season with twins, and then
Ugh.
then they were gone.
Ugh.
So
That's a
Yes.
nightmare.
yes,
No matter
we
what.
have some half sisters and to them.
Yes.
So he scratched down to what, a field of 5?
5 horse
Yes.
field.
What are you expecting this afternoon?
I expect a good effort. I even with the 7, I thought we'd have a big chance to hit the board. You know, in these grass races, things happen.
Yeah.
I mean that they all cluster sometimes, and then somebody takes off, or things happen. It's always amazing what can happen. Like sometimes somebody goes the lead, he goes the whole way, and other times it just all groups together.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it often seems like more things happen with a smaller field.
Yes, and that's true. And I have noticed that speed hadn't held the last couple of days on the grass.
Yeah.
Well, he just by virtue of the lack of speed that Segoy and Strong Quality
Right.
might have provided, English Conqueror has got, I suppose, Silver Knot ends up going to the lead.
Right,
With
been on the
Pratt,
lead before.
right?
Yes.
So, and you basically stalk him. You got Luis Saez, who seemed... Johnny kind of broke out of his
Yesterday.
struggles yesterday. And Louis, I mean, the Haskell win notwithstanding, Saez is uncharacteristically...
Cool here.
Yeah, he just hasn't ridden with his usual confidence. But this is the kind of horse, drafting and getting into the race, that he is a fit for. You've used Manny Esquivel, who we think the world of. Manny rode in New York, of course, a Chicago kid, grew up on the backstretch at
Right.
Hawthorne and Arlington.
Louis won on this horse.
Go back?
Yes, Oaks Day at Churchill. 2 or 3 years ago.
Nice. Well,
And I've known Louis. I've ridden Louis since he's been here.
well, I tell people, I must probably tired of this story. I was at Aqueduct, and David Fox is there,
Right.
with the filly to run in the Comely, and we're watching getting ready to watch the race. The filly's name was Hot Summer. I said, "Who is this kid that you're riding?" He said, "Oh," he said, "he's terrific. He's going to be." Came out of Calder. He said he's going to be a big star. It was the first time I saw Luis Saez, and he made a move. He made a move on Hot Summer up the rail, and he was on the radar.
Yes, his brother, won a stake for me in Indiana as an apprentice.
Before he,
Yes.
and for those that don't know,
His brother
Louis'
rode that
brother
summer.
was killed on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going back to Strong Tide, as I'm looking down the record, you got to be thrilled to have a horse like this that can go turf or dirt. And you had a couple of dirt races down at Oaklawn this winter. One of them a nice second place finish in a stakes race.
Right.
What made you decide to go to the dirt this winter with the horse?
Well, he holds 2 track records at Oaklawn.
Oh, wow.
One for mile and 5/16 and one for a mile 7/16 or something. But
Is that closing day stake they run every year?
no,
the marathonish?
that's a starter handicap.
Temperance Hill was
Yeah.
what you're talking
Okay.
about.
No, these were allowances. He likes the course down. He likes the weather down there. He really flourishes, and he likes the track. And I ran him there, and so when I brought him back, I thought, well, let's try that. And you know how good the purses are.
Yeah.
So and he ran a bad race the first time. Maybe I ran a short horse or something, but then we pumped him up and ran him on the Derby Day race, and he ran great.
Yeah, as I said, it's got to be great to have a horse that can go either way.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, Mike, I do want to get, because you got a very busy week ahead.
Yes.
You've entered how many horses in the race in Indy, the stake? You've got at least 4, I think, in there.
I think, yeah, because my assistant in Indiana said, we need some bridles.
There you go.
So I think I have 6 or 7 in that day.
I pulled up a replay of one of them, the Ellen's Lucky Star handicap back at the beginning of July
Yes.
with Best Cupcake. That's
Right.
one of the horses
This
going
was a
on
nice
Wednesday.
win.
Yes.
And
Bruce-
again, these horses are going to be going in the First Lady handicap at Horseshoe on Wednesday. Talk
Yes.
a little bit about Best Cupcake.
Bruce Lunsford and we own her, and she won a stake last time. She's a Oscar Performance, and she ran great on the grass. She ran good on the dirt last year, and this was on the dirt Wednesday, and we expect a big effort from her. There's another filly in there named Three Coats who ran fourth in the stake last time, and we expect improvement from her since she really hadn't ran much this year. And on the boy division, we have what's his name?
Black,
White, and Gold, another Oscar Performance, and he should improve. He won his last start, and I expect a good effort out of him. We bred the Oscar's first 3, 4. We bred the Oscar till he got too high for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's some exciting news from Mill Ridge, I think, coming this week. Speaking of Oscar Performance, you've also, on, I think, Wednesday, you got 2 maidens entered in that third race. Quibble, this is out of another Pure Prize mare.
Yes. We had a share in Pure Prize.
So that's why you were breeding
Pure
to
Prize
him.
here. Yes.
Very nice. This is Quibble making a
Right.
second start, and then Sorry Not Sorry.
Yes. Quibble is from a mare who's had a lot of nice horses. Her foals have won over $1 million. They're very consistent. They're very hard knocking. And Sorry Not Sorry is a good Samaritan out of the same family, I think.
Out of Accessorizing, that you guys also bred.
Right.
A 3-time winner, 90,000. She was out of a summer squall mare. And,
Right, okay.
Just had a nice, useful career.
Right.
What's her produce record?
The Accessorizing is allowance winners in Indiana, $20,000 horses.
Okay. All right.
But as long as they're sound and they're 20,000, there's a way to make it with the horse.
Yeah.
Especially if they run through a couple conditions in Indiana and you think they're 20, and run them in Louisville for a $40,000 purse.
Where do you base mostly during the majority of the year?
Churchill in Indiana,
Yeah.
and then in Oakland in the winter. Then we have the farm in Finchville, Kentucky, which is between Louisville and Lexington.
Finchville?
Yes. Finchville.
I'm pretty good with geography, Mike.
You've driven by the one roadside numerous times.
I love it.
It's exit 32 between Louisville and Lexington.
Is that Wadi Paytona?
No, we're before Wadi. If you're coming from Louisville, we're before Wadi Paytona.
Like Simpsonville.
We're next exit. You can get off Simpsonville and come to us, yes, but the next one is Finchville.
All right, because I know those roads because Doc Alday's place.
Yes, and there's might be 50 houses in town.
I love it. I love it. Wow. Mike Lauer is in town with Strong Tide for today. The Bowling Green, we're down to a field of 5. If you are just joining us, you can take out Strong Quality and Segoy. They can't take you out, Mike. Good luck to you and Penny.
No, we will be there.
I love it. Mike Lauer, everybody. Let's take our first break this morning. David Aragona, horse to watch, going to join us next. He's made a big appearance this weekend. Yesterday on Talking Horses with Andy, and he'll be up later in the meet on a more regular basis. But we grabbed him while we can. David Aragona joins us next. Dean Reeves later on Loose on the Lead. Stay with us.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resorts Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back to Sunday morning's version of Loose on the Lead, this week's version of Loose on the Lead. Great day here at Saratoga. Weather-wise, it was a beautiful day yesterday as well, and we'll hit on a couple of stakes results from yesterday with our next guest, David Aragona. You know him as the morning line odds maker at the New York Racing Association. David, good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Happy to have you here, and you've probably heard it plenty, but we once again sung your praises on the handicapping show this morning, saying probably, I think handicappers, players all agree you are at the pinnacle now of the morning line odds-making team around the country at the various tracks. But I'm curious, because I don't think when you're in fourth grade you think, you know, as a career I think I'll be a morning line odds maker. How did you move into that field?
It's not something I ever really wanted to do. Actually, my boss, when I started doing some handicapping at Timeform US, just kind of was cobbling together a role for me when we came to the Daily Racing Form, and just thought, you know, this is available. You kind of have the mind that might be good at this. Maybe you should try it. And I wasn't even thinking about making lines, so you know, I did a couple tests. I tried it for a couple weeks, and you know, found that I was getting pretty close to where the public was at. So I was like, all right, I'll try to do it, and just kind of got thrust into it. And I think it's worked out okay. Up here, I try to take it pretty seriously, you know, put a lot of work into it, especially with the 2-year-old races, and it's nice to hear that people appreciate it. I always say the best compliment for a morning line maker is when you hear absolutely nothing about the job that you do. So good things are even better.
Yeah, I said this morning, you know, I hear Andy do it on his morning show. We do it in here every once in a while. I think, yeah, you know, I'm not sure I agree with the morning line. And then it turns out you're more right than we are more often than not. And so, yeah, a very good job. How'd you learn it, though? I mean, how do you learn the morning line formulas and whatnot?
Well, I mean, the formula, it's just kind of like plugging numbers into a spreadsheet. So, I mean, people have different theories about how many points the horses have to add up to, speaking about, like, you know, what value each set of odds are worth. I try to keep it in a pretty tight range so that it actually mirrors the betting at post time. But aside from that, it's just kind of trial and error, a lot of watching how people bet the races and kind of taking notes on that, you know, things that you see, trainers that take money, jockeys making notes for the future. So mostly it's just a lot of following the races the way you usually would.
Yeah. Steve?
Well, a wider conversation about your responsibilities, and certainly one part that is unique up here because of the maiden races. Watching the line and your analysis in the Timeform write-ups and your plays. You and Mike Beer, you know, have the plays that are offered. David's principal job is with the Daily Racing Form and Timeform US, and you're a keen, I would say, consumer of the workout reports and of what's going on over on the Belmont training track in the morning, because invariably horses that, and because your selections are out and your analysis is out before the Clocker report, whenever I see a horse that might not necessarily have been an obvious, bet 6-1, 8-1, a horse that might have been 10, 12, 15-1 on connections and pedigree, invariably they've got a positive work note, and you've been out in front of it. So you're getting over in the mornings at Belmont.
No.
All right. Well, but it's obvious that the workouts are a big part of your handicapping.
They are, especially for the 2-year-old races up here. I try to find as much information as I can. I actually don't get early access to the Clocker reports. I will look up past Clocker reports that are on file and try to see names that I can link up, horses that are working in company with others, and kind of glean how those horses might be doing that haven't actually raced yet. I'm grateful for a lot of resources that make videos of workouts available, like XBTV, and there's also videos of the Kentucky workouts available now at Keeneland and Churchill. So I absorb as much information from those as I can. But that's been sort of a learning curve for me, learning how to watch the workouts and what to look for, and seeing which kinds of workouts are actually going to be positive write-ups by Mike Welsh's team. So I've kind of had to learn the way that they see things and sort of predict what the Clocker report is going to look like when it comes out. Up here, I'm grateful that with XBTV, we've got a lot of the workouts available on the training track and the main track, so I can get a pretty good handle on who's working well ahead of those 2-year-old races.
Nice. We're going to talk David's handicapping method and the other elements you employ. Let's actually get some of yesterday's review in and talk about what is obviously going to end up being a fascinating scenario in this Travers. Of course, Kenny McPeek yesterday kind of confirming what everybody expected, knowing Kenny McPeek, that Torpedo Anna would participate in the Travers. We come off of the Curlin. We come off of last week's Haskell. We've got horses like Anna Marie that are working along toward a start. There's others that are kind of waiting in the wings. Baffert told me Monday that either Parenting, who runs today in the 4th at Del Mar, or Muth will run here. The other will run in the Pennsylvania Derby. So let's distill what we saw yesterday in the Jim Dandy.
So, I mean, Fierceness looked like an all-or-nothing type coming into the race, and there's good that Fierceness showed up on this day. And I think the thing that we saw from Fierceness that we wanted to see here was that he actually fought for it. And yes, Sierra Leone wasn't right next to him in the stretch. He kind of got pushed down towards the rail, so maybe being so far apart helped Fierceness just stay focused on running his own race. But he still showed up. There was a lot of speed in this race. Maybe the pace didn't materialize being as quick as we thought it was going to be, but he got into good position from that outside post and just was able to run his A race to get it done. 103 Beyer is solid. And Sierra Leone, I don't think he loses anything in defeat. He ran the best speed figure on the Beyer scale so far of his career. He is starting to rack up those losses, though. Maybe a 1.25 miles is going to be better for him in the Travers. I guess we'll wait and see if they have a change of heart about running Fierceness in the Travers. It would be great to have him in the race, but I understand why they're thinking maybe take a more conservative route at the moment.
Well, there's this sort of, I saw some people making comments, he was never intended for the Travers. If you think that Mike Rapoli is going to, and Todd Pletcher are going to leave that horse in the stall on Travers Day in 4 weeks, if he's doing well out of this, then you're not paying attention. And if they come back and say he needs time, and we're going to wait for the Pennsylvania Derby on a track that is notoriously quirky, I don't think so.
Yeah, he can be a light-bodied horse, and I know they've had concerns about his weight in the past, so I guess they're going to see how he's doing out of this race. But if he's training out of his skin, I think it's hard to pass up a race like the Travers, even having a horse like Mindframe already in the race. And yeah, I get they have somewhat similar running styles. Mindframe probably a little more versatile than Fierceness is, but boy, it would be great to have him in the race, because this Travers is shaping up to be not just a great Travers for the fans to appreciate, but also a great wagering race, because you're going to get a price on almost anybody that you like.
What's your thoughts on McPeek committing Torpedo Anna as opposed to sticking to the fillies? Because he, frankly, 3-year-old filly championship is certainly, I would think, by acclamation. But there's a very straightforward path for her to Horse of the Year, given the sort of hodgepodge going on in the handicap division. The mare, what's his name? Cox's mare getting beat.
Idiomatic.
Idiomatic getting beat. And or not getting beat so much as
only winning by underwhelming
yeah,
victory.
Thank you.
Yes.
But if she wins the Alabama, she wins something like the Spinster, and then whatever she does in the distaff, she's got a chance to be Horse of the Year.
She does. I was saying this to somebody the other day that running in the Travers, in a weird way, makes her less likely to be Horse of the Year because she has to clear a more ambitious hurdle at this point in the year. And if she loses the race or if she's off the board, it kind of takes her out of that conversation. And it's tough. I mean, yeah, she's been really dominant against the fillies so far, but she's not running speed figures that make her a standout in that race. And while there's no standout in the 3-year-old male division right now, the level of talent across the board is pretty high. So I think she's going to take a lot of money in that race if she runs there. And rightly so, she's been really impressive. But as a fan, love to see it happen. And as a handicapper, I love to see it happen because she's probably not the kind of horse I'm going to be interested in betting, but I know she's going to take a lot of money in the race. So I just think it makes it a more appealing wagering affair.
No, and with her style and with so many who are already proven front runners and vanguard types, you would think that both Anna Marie and Sierra Leone will get the kind of setup that they both crave.
Yeah, and even if I'm not betting on her or necessarily rooting for her in the race, I mean, if she pulls it off, this place would go crazy. I mean, it would be an amazing feat. So, I mean, I love to see it, and it just builds the anticipation for what's already going to be a great race.
Yeah. Also yesterday, let's take a look at the stretch run of the Vanderbilt. Top of the stretch, I thought Skelly was going to do it again, but now the last couple, he's gotten to the last 16th of a mile and come up a little bit short, and off the layoff, it was Nakatomi for Wesley Ward. Wesley, after the race, said, not going to come back in the 4-go likely. We're going to shoot for the Phoenix down at Churchill and onto the Breeders' Cup. But off the layoff, it was a nice performance by Nakatomi.
Yeah, Nakatomi, I mean, had some trips early in the year at Tampa and even the Golden Shahid, not really ideal, but off the layoff, he was obviously ready to go. You could see on the far turn when he was as close to Skelly as he was and not out the back door like I think a lot of handicappers expected him to be. He was always going to be tough to hold off. And Skelly, those flat-footed breaks from the gate are really getting to him now. I think at the highest levels, it's a problem when he's beating up on inferior competition. He can rush up through those 21 and change opening quarters, but it's tough to do it in a Grade 1 race against the best sprinters in the country. So, I mean, it was nice to see them take a shot with him because he's been competing in a lot of lesser races and has held strong form for a couple of years now. But it was a good race, and that came up a fast one, too, 105 Beyer.
Yeah, nice performance there. And as I say, he'll be shooting down at Keeneland.
We don't have video, but we should mention, by the way, out in California in the Bing Crosby, the Chosen Vron, it is just unbelievable. The Calbred repeats in the Bing Crosby. So the sprint division, which has been kind of wanting a little bit the last several years, feels like we're going to have a nice group finally kind of come together. And on that topic, we certainly are going to have a nice Alan Jerkins on the Travers undercard as well. So the 3-year-olds may add to the appeal of the sprint. But look at this. Look at you. Who's better than our team? Here is the Chosen Vron in cruise control.
It feels like every one of his victories recently looks exactly the same. I mean, this could be his last race or his Bing Crosby from last year. I mean, what is it, 18 or 19 victories now? I mean, he just keeps racking them up. Doesn't matter if it's Calabreds or the graded stakes those out there, and he's winning this race clearly as easily as can be at the end. He wasn't quite as good as the Elite Powers and Gunnites last year, who were really running some speed figures that made them one of the best, a couple of the best sprinters of the past several years. But it feels like the division is a little more wide open this year, and he's one that could really make some noise in the Breeders' Cup come the fall.
Also at Del Mar yesterday, earlier in the day, the Arabian Night came back inexplicably flat, and Mark Glatt, who's one of our favorites, Glatt with Dr. Venkman, wins the San Diego, preparing for the Pac Classic. Two performances. I'm so impressed with our team here. Nice job as you watch the Ford on the rail in the Amr Zidane colors, just sort of. I mean, really shortening stride quite a bit. And in the meantime, Glatt and Dr. Venkman, 3-1 winners, and Arabian Night off the board. A couple of races from yesterday, some quick thoughts.
Chancer McPatrick, the 2-year-old?
Well, Chancer McPatrick was fun, and I watched the race with Lee Einseidler, who had
T-Craft, the runner-up.
Yes, who he never. I went to the paddock and I said to Lee, I said, you didn't say anything about this horse. He goes, ugh.
I saw him the night before. He said, my horse tomorrow.
Not good.
And Lee is not. That's unusual.
Well, there's an interesting sidebar to this, because he said, he worked last week. We were kind of getting excited, and he came back and he was blowing. And Benny Stutz, who you remember from Smooth Air, Benny Stutz had a saying: if they don't blow in the morning, they will blow in the afternoon. Meaning, you want your horse to come back tired and gotten something out of his work. Sure enough, he got something out of this work, because that was a very nice performance. 79 buyer for him, but the 81 for Chancer McPatrick, the first winner for McKinsey, I believe, too.
Yes, really impressive from off the pace. Had serious trouble early in the race to wind up last, and there was a fast pace there. I think you do want to give some credit to T-Craft, because
no doubt.
Chancer McPatrick is going to generate all the headlines coming out of that race, but the runner-up ran really well in that spot. Feels like the first really loaded 2-year-old maiden special weight that we have this meet.
It took a while. Speak Easy's return yesterday.
He looked good. I think there were some mixed signals from his workouts coming into the race. He was turning back to the 6 furlong, so you kind of wondered if that was just going to be a stepping stone race for him, and it probably was. But he kicked in well for the stretch, got the job done, coming from a little further off the pace than I think people would have expected, and he's an exciting horse to have back. I hope that the horse that he was working with in the mornings coming into that race, the 4-year-old filly Bandita, shows up too, because she was outworking him, and the way that he ran, I think she's one to get excited about as a 4-year-old.
Well, an exciting Sunday card today, and we'll talk a couple of spots. And David, I also, as we enter that, a survey of the checklist, your approach to a race. Maybe you want to use the 5th as sort of a checkpoint.
Well, by necessity, I start by making the morning line, because that's the first thing that's due. So I kind of go through and I start thinking about the race from looking at angles that are going to take money. And in a race like the 5th, obviously regulatory risk. She's stakes-based. She's been in Grade 1s. She placed in the Kentucky Oaks, so she's a horse that has name recognition. Sedona with that pedigree and all the apparent upside for Shug McGahee, who stereotypically, players feel like he improves horses over time. She's one. And then Central Avenue coming in for Mike Stidham has those lines from last year with Just FYI and Torpedo Anna showing. So those are the 3 that are going to take the bulk of wagering support in here. So I kind of am cognizant of that when I take the second step to go through and handicap the race for myself. And I kind of look at who I think is going to fly under the radar, maybe offer some value in the race. And I was able to sort of step past those 3 horses and look at one other that I think is in the mix, and that's Tom Amos's horse, the number 3 standout sensation. And yes, she doesn't have the upside of some others because she has more starts under her belt, but I think she's been running deceptively well in a few recent races. Her Ashland was not a bad effort with an uncomfortable trip. Maybe she didn't like the slop 2 back. And then last time, that has been a very live optional claiming event at Churchill Downs. The 3rd place finisher came back and improved her buyer, just missing a mistake.
Should have won that race yesterday. There's no excuse for little Jamie yesterday.
Yeah. And the 5th place finisher came back and won the Iowa Oaks with a 90 buyer. So that has been a very live race. I thought this filly was pretty game that day. And now she's in one of these 9 furlong races that doesn't seem like it features a whole lot of pace. And I would hope that Tom Amos looks at this race and instructs Jose Ortiz to get aggressive with her.
Completely agree. And when you talk about the Ashland, what tools do you use to watch the trips, and what do you identify in it that made it uncomfortable? Where was she hemmed in? Was she in a spot that she doesn't seem to like? We hear, Andy, for instance, talks about some horses that don't like to be inside, would prefer to be outside. Others, what made it uncomfortable?
Yeah, so I watch all the replays. I use the DIRA formulator PPs where you can just easily pull them up as you're doing your handicapping. Yeah. And for this one, she didn't have any obvious trouble in that, she didn't steady or anything. But I just thought she wasn't always in the right spot to advance into the race. She wasn't necessarily with the flow, as trip handicappers like to say. Maybe she was following a tiring horse, got a little shuffled back approaching the stretch run, and just never really looked like she was in position to make an impact on that race. She was also just a little overmatched. That was a tough spot for her.
No doubt. And you talk about race flow. It is notable, both in the allowance, the non-winners of 2 at Fairgrounds near the end of the meet. and then in the Ashland, and the fact that Amos thought enough of her to run her in that spot says something.
Well, I mean, look what she had faced in her prior 2 starts. Tarifa, graded stakes winner. Our Pretty Woman went on to win a stake. So she's kept really strong company. This is not the first time that she's facing stakes horses, albeit in an allowance race.
Now, I absolutely at 6-1, absolutely, and she'll be every bit of that.
With
6-1.
With those 3 in this field, they're all going to take money. I think so.
Yeah. 9th race today, feature race. It's the Bowling Green. We talked about that a little earlier with Michael Lauer. And again, we noted Sugoi and Strong Quality are coming out in here. That makes Silver Knot obviously very tough from Charlie Appleby. But how did you see the feature today?
Well, with a little less pace in the race, it actually dampens my interest in this race a little bit. It makes Silver Knot really tough to beat. He's really blossomed since they stretched him out in distance this year, and he was competing in a really tough 3-year-old male turf division last year. There were some really talented horses in that group, and he was just sort of a cut below them, but I'm sure Charlie Appleby always had in the back of his mind, this is a horse that we can stretch out because there is so much stamina breeding, especially on the bottom side of his pedigree, and after it did work out that way, he's really appreciated the added distance, especially in that Man of War. That was a taxing pace, and he showed real staying power to draw away from that field at the end, so he is way the horse to beat. When I initially handicapped this race, I was seeing a lot of pace in here, so I was thinking maybe this is the day that a race finally falls apart for Soldier Rising. Now the way that it shapes up, I think it's going to be tough for him to make up all that ground and beat a horse like Silver Knot, but looking forward to seeing what Silver Knot does in here because he's been really impressive in his last couple. Yeah,
very much so. And I will tee you up because you both have thoughts. You have similar thoughts in here. In the finale is state bred allowance non-winners, so 1 runner scheduled for 8.5 on the grass. And you guys were talking before we went on the air, and now I'm going to have to throw your thoughts in the mix. Certainly, I did not use it, but first up, David, give us your thoughts on the 10th.
Well, I'm curious if we use the same methods to get to the same horse, but my thinking with Two's a Crowd in this race going out for Derek Ryan, well, one, if you haven't been paying attention, Derek Ryan has shipped some very live horses at prices to NYRA over the past several years. I think over the past 3 years, he's 10 for 50 with an ROI in excess of $7, which is basically as high as you see. This horse just felt like it was getting at a prep last time, going 5.5 on the turf. IRAD has been aboard him, and the fact that he's on again is probably going to depress the price a little bit, but he still has to be decent odds in a race where I think there are some others with just more obvious accomplishments, and now he's stretching out second off the layoff. I actually think the best race he ran as a 2-year-old was that mile race in the Sleepy Hollow, so he showed stamina that day. Watching this horse run, he's got a real length to his stride. I think he's one that's going to appreciate going the longer distance, and just hoping he flies under the radar just enough to be a bettable price in here.
I agree on all fronts. He also gets first Lasix, which is worth something, and figured to get. He's a closing sprinter by definition, and that plays stretching out. I would think, and the fact that IRAD has been signed on for each trip to New York says a lot to me. This is a horse people are going to see broke his maiden for 30, and they're going to think, and he got beat 11, he got beat 16, he got beat 2. The fact that he ran that good race, beaten 2 lengths, and basically jumped up on the fig scales as well. Off the layoff, his first start as a 3-year-old. I would think that he moves forward off of that too. So there's a bunch of reasons to like Two's a Crowd. The 8-1 appealed to me. I made him the DePaula play of the day for all of those reasons.
Very good. And so live in there with IRAD on board. And Brian Nadeau, I credited him. I don't know if it was somebody else coined the phrase, but he always refers to the IRAD tax. I'm assuming when you make the morning line, you have to figure in the IRAD tax.
100%. He takes a lot of money year-round. I think there's a perception that he wins all the races. Comes close to it, but doesn't quite do that. But it does feel like he takes a lot of money. Up here, though, it's gotten a little more spread around. I've seen Flavian Pratt's mounts starting to take a lot more money, and justifiably so. He's riding great so far.
And will Dylan Davis start taking a lot of money now that all of his winners are paying double digits?
Well, not today. He's out of Del Mar right for the race. So.
Yeah, because he was supposed to do that charity event last night over at the harness track. That was fun with Katie Davis on a trotter under saddle and Robbie Davis in the sulky. I'm thinking the harness guys maybe played to the crowd a little bit because the Davises both won, but it was a fun night across the street. All right, anything else, or we'll
There it is.
Wrap
If you're not following David, Horse to Watch on Twitter, and then, of course, at the NYRA website, the time form analysis and the plays. The time usually good for 3 or 4 a day, give or take. And, of course, in the pages of the Daily Racing Form as well, with he and Kenny Peck and Mike Beer providing analysis and selections on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Well done.
Thanks for having me.
Always appreciate the visit. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Dean Reeves will join us. He has a couple in for this afternoon and more. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Hold on.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a 3-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back to Loose on the Lead. Happy to be joined now by our friend, Dean Reeves. We've had him on the show a number of times, prominent New York owner and beyond. Dean, good morning.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good morning.
Happy to have you here.
Yeah.
And we hit on it maybe every other time you're here, but for folks who aren't familiar, they maybe see you in the winner's circle or in the paddock, and I'm always interested to get the background story on trainers and owners here. And you've got an interesting story. Didn't you get into the game because of another couple you were on vacation with?
Yeah, we were. We were in the Turks and Caicos Islands. My wife, Patty, is at the gym and meets a lady there, and we run into them that night at dinner and said, well, hey, why don't y'all come out on the boat and we'll show you around. And he and I got to talking. It was Bob and Esther Addis, and he said, well, he'd been in horse racing for many years and been to the winner's circle 56 times. So he said, I'm going to the Keeneland sale next month. If you want, we can be partners. And I said, well, that sounds like fun. And the next thing I knew, I was at Keeneland watching these horses go for $700,000-$800,000. And but we managed to buy a horse that we named Fearless. And Angel Penna was the trainer, and we were off and rolling then. So, but it was a blessing for us to meet Bob and Esther. They were great partners, and that got us started.
Now a story ownership career. How many horses do you have running currently? Do you know?
We have about 70 horses in training.
And is it, because I went through Equibase last night trying to find entries and whatnot and results for your horses, and it's tough to find out with all these partnerships. Has that part of the game changed a little bit? It seems like
it has.
Partnerships have become very popular.
I remember when I first got into horse racing, it was pretty much you bought your own horse.
Yeah.
And you knew individuals, but then as things evolved, it's like when I met Randy Hill up here. We went out to dinner. We hit it off, of course, you know, and we got to get a horse together. And so next thing you know, we're buying horses together, and then you start, and then another person you meet. And I got to tell you, I've got great friends that are partners, and it's been a delightful part of this business is, you know, I'm partners with people you couldn't even get in their office probably if you wanted to come see them or anything. And that's what makes it so fun.
I saw you were partnered with Andy Biancone on a horse.
Yeah, Andy and I were partners on a horse, and you know, I got all these celebrities that I'm partners with. I tell a lot of people that just to make me feel good. But you know, they're great people. You're able to minimize your risk, and I always say nobody wants to go to the winner's circle by themselves.
That's a good point. Yeah. You also have been a real nice addition to the Saratoga community. You guys now spend summers here.
We do.
I mean, it really, your entree into the game, it really changed your life.
Oh, absolutely.
I first met you guys at Belmont, at a Belmont party at the Garden City Hotel, if you remember. And obviously, Mucho Macho Man was the breakthrough horse. And in addition to giving Dean and Patty and the family and other associates, you know, that thrill ride, you also helped launch this initiative for Georgia horse racing.
Right.
We should really talk about, because I had the senator up,
Senator Hickman,
who was really nice. Bobby Hickman, had him opening week, in fact, opening day on the show, and you know, Jack D'Amico's been working tirelessly in Georgia to try to change the landscape and win approval of, at the very least, the opportunity for people to bet in Georgia.
Right.
You know, you brought Mucho Macho Man to the streets of Atlanta.
We did.
And a rally, and at the time, it really seemed like that was going to get it over the finish line.
It's been a struggle, to say the least, but we have not given up.
No.
There's light at the end of the tunnel, and I think over the next 2 years we'll get ourselves positioned. And you have to have the correct politicians helping you, pushing this thing forward. And so we've got a lot of irons in the fire. We were close to even having a location and really moving along, but we stumbled.
For an equine activity center, racetrack,
the
with,
whole deal.
You know, polo and show horses and everything.
So we're a long way from finished on that, but we'll. I hope one of these days I'm sitting in here and we're talking about racing in Georgia.
You know, we talk about trying to find, you know, not necessarily just new revenue, but new horse players.
Yeah.
Georgia has got one of the fastest growing populations in the country. You've got a demographic shift and a literal shift of population, and I mean the fact that Georgians can't bet is ridiculous.
It is. I mean, and we've run on check voting at some of it's 75%. I mean, that's over the top.
Yep.
And so, and you look at what my friend Larry Conley and them have done with West Paces. They've won the Belmont. They've got horses racing up here,
Haskell.
And they win the Haskell. And so, I said that, you know, I went over to Europe, won the coronation, and met the king. I said I'm the only guy in Georgia that's met King Charles III there. So, you know, for two, you know, Georgia guys, we're doing okay. And you would think that. Maybe somebody in Georgia sees that and says, "Well, why don't we have racing here?"
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. So. It's at the very least you've got Kentucky, I think, as a template, because of course the whole hoop jump and everything that went on in Frankfurt to get the HHR, to get the historical horse racing codified, there was a real shift there, and that included socially. And it feels like, you know, as Senator Hickman told me and my audience, that is sort of what's needed in Georgia. Kind of a realization that the public wants it, and the society's not going to fall apart at the seams if they're allowed. People are allowed to vote.
The state's not going to fall in the ocean because we got horse racing and wagering, and we've had a lot of support from Keeneland, NYRA, all of the tracks to work with us. They've been fabulous. They've said, we'll come down and speak. We'll just, whatever you need, let us know. So we want to be a partner with those folks and figure out what works for horse racing. And I think we'll get it done.
I hope so.
Love to see that happen. You mentioned you're up here all summer long. I don't remember whether I saw you. Were you here for Belmont Week?
We were.
And your thoughts on Bonus Saratoga, Belmont and Saratoga?
I thought it was fabulous. I mean, it was a great week, great racing. The place was packed, and it was just super. And I know that they're looking at, if we come up for Belmont next year, why don't we just stay? But that's hard to do. There's more issues around that, I guess, than I'm privy to. Yeah. But I think that week up here was kind of neat.
Yeah,
and, it was fun.
Yeah. It was special.
There was a concert downtown that was a blockbuster kind of thing. Blues Traveler right on Broadway, and then that led into the whole.
That was so fun having Blues Traveler and walking the streets downtown. It was. They did a great job. Yeah. It was a lot of work went into that week.
It did.
They did a great job.
Let's talk about. I pulled up some horses that I saw are working up here, and so I expected them to come. We have the one, and we'll talk about today as well. But I pulled up a replay of Instamatic going back to June 22nd. Instamatic, a nice winner here. And as I say, I saw that he's working up. Instamatic is working up here. So give us some thoughts on if we'll see that one up here during the meet.
I'm really excited about this horse. He, from last year to this year, his growth and just maturity has really showed. This is a different horse than what he was last year, and I'm just really looking forward to getting him back in another race. And he's training well. Danny's thrilled with how he's progressing. I think the future is in front of this horse, and whether we can get a win here in Saratoga or not, but I think this horse is as good as anybody I've got in the barn right now.
Yeah, 4 exacta finishes and 5 career starts, and as I say, they've been working steadily up here.
Yeah,
so like to see that one. Dakota Gold has been a really nice one for you. I pulled up a second place finish in the Hudson Valley going back to July 7th, and again, been working steadily up here as well. Will we see Dakota Gold?
You will. Yep, he will. I think it's the West Point that he'll be pointing to.
Okay.
Something like that. But he's another one. I mean, what a great horse he's been for us. I mean, he's steadily improving. He's tough. He comes every race. He gets there. In this particular race, he really closed well, and so just another nice horse in the barn.
Yeah, I mean that's been a real performer for you throughout his career. A couple more I wanted to touch on. Senbei. Will we see Senbei?
Yeah. Now, boy, I'll tell you what. Now, I was impressed with his last race.
Yeah, he had a win down at Belmont on July 6th.
Almost broke the track record.
Yeah.
And so he has taken to the turf. I give credit to Miguel Clement when we were running him on the dirt, and Miguel said, "You know what? I think this horse will like the turf." Well, he did. And now, there's a horse that maybe you thought was on the way down, and then we put him on turf, and he's on the way back up.
Yeah,
so,
and a lot of these are, if not all, New York breds. You've been a big proponent and a big player in the New York bred program.
It's a great program. If you're up here, you better have some New York breds. I mean, just what you need to do.
And on that topic, how has your acquisition model, famously, you were watching the race that Mucho Macho Man participated in. You were watching for a different horse, and Mucho caught your eye, and bought privately.
Let's show, because I pulled up the Breeders' Cup Classic from 2012. So let's take a look at Mucho Macho Man while you get into this.
And as you get a horse like this, and he goes to stand stud. You have mares that you're going to cover, and take advantage of that. Talk about how your management role or management style and the program, Dean, has either changed or morphed over the years.
That's a great question. It has really, to use your word, morphed, and it's changed constantly. at first, I was just buying some mares and some different horses individually, some to breed back eventually to Mucho Macho Man. And then we sort of found this New York program. And then we came up here, and Jimmy Gladwell was helping me and breaking horses for me and everything. And so we said, you know what, these purses up here in this New York program are solid. And if we can come up here and buy and get some horses to help us along on this, it gives you those runners going, and then that purse money, the income. You got to have that income. Cash flow coming in. And so we're constantly changing, whether that's buying yearlings or weanlings, buying off the track. We really cover it all, and keep your eye out for where you can go. So really now I think I've even changed again, that I really want to try to step up the quality of horses that we've got. The number of 75 that I've got now, or 70, is a little bit too many for me. I want to get that back down, maybe in a 40 to 50 range, but try to concentrate on some horses that maybe with a little better pedigree and so forth. We're going to remain in the New York program. There's no question about that, because horses like City Man really, I mean, he was just every time. That was a cash flow machine. And so, and then we've stepped out over into Europe.
I was about to say, the international.
We like racing over there. Right now, we've got as good a 3-year-old filly out there as there is in Porta Fortuna. Back-to-back Group 1s for her. So
and just sold, went through the ring?
No, she's a 3-year-old that she won the Coronation.
Right.
And then she ran at Newmarket and won the Group 1 there.
When did you get involved?
I got involved with her after her first race as a 2-year-old.
Okay.
With Medallion and Steve Weston.
Okay.
And Barry, the 4 of us went in on her, and I'm telling you, she is some kind of filly. So we've expanded into that, but we are really trying to really pick and choose some of the horses. So, you know, this business, it's a constant work and change. I have some friends up here that said, Dean, you go to races, you're at work. And I said, well, yeah. You are. Yeah. You better look after your business.
Are you playing in the sales up here, the main sale and the New York bred sale later in the week?
We will look at the New York bred sale. Then I think we are going to look a little harder this year at the September Keeneland sale. I think that there's some quality yearlings in there that we can pick up. There's just a bigger group of horses to look at. You get a little bit too close in. I mean, we love this Fazig-Tipton sale, and there's some awesome horses in here. We'll look at it. Whether we can get us one bought or not, I don't know, but it's tough.
That brings up even another question, because, of course, the opportunity to raise some of your own. How many broodmares?
Well, we went in on Mullion, that is the stallion that is now up here in New York. And so we're breeding 2 mares a year to him as part of that deal. So we are breeding, and then I've got some other fillies, mares I bred to Good Magic. So I have one on the ground that's a New York bred by Good Magic. Solamini we bred to. So you know, we're breeding a few up here to have.
The pinhooking game. Have you pinhooked at all?
I have. I've gone in and pinhooked with Valerie Demerit.
Oh, sure.
We do 25% of just about all the horses that they buy, and we pinhook those and go through the sale. They've done a great job for us. I've done a few with Jimmy and Martha Gladwell and Nellie and Chatley.
Great job.
Breeding. So we pick and choose a few of those, and we sell them. And we do that to turn some cash, and hope you don't make money on them all, but overall the whole package, we've been in the positive. And then also sometimes it's helpful if you see one you really like, you already own 25%. And then you can just keep the horse.
Exactly. And so, have you played with any weanling to yearling at all?
Oh yeah, we've most of our 2-year-olds that are up here now are weanlings that we bought in the sale.
Very nice. Because there was a moment. I mean, I've been doing the show 20 years. There was a moment with Glennie Kane Oakford when all of a sudden you started seeing end users buy weanlings in the November sales,
Right.
Or short yearlings in January.
Right. Both of those we bought in.
And it was strictly a defensive, not a defensive posture. In fact, it was an offensive posture to avoid having to pay bigger tickets in September or July or August. And even that market now. I mean, now you're getting mid six-figure weanlings now because people figured out. Well, wait a minute. It's like a pre-sale. It's like when you go to an elite auction and you can go to the pre-sale.
Yeah, it's tough to have the vision to pick out a weanling.
Well, that depends. That depends on your bloodstock advisors. Whether they've got an eye for that.
Yeah, I got the best there is for that in Jimmy Gladwell.
Gladwell does a great job.
He does a great job, and then your trainers, of course, help you.
Absolutely.
Look at that you use, and when everybody agrees, then it makes it a lot easier.
Well, you talk about the trainers, pitching in here. Gargan was way out in front.
Oh, absolutely.
On Good Magic. I mean, he bought how many Good Magics does he have? He's got a half a dozen.
I'd say a half a dozen.
I think a half a dozen, and he's talked about it repeatedly. I mean, and when you latch on like that, and you speculate that, whoever now, complexity right now, and Vacoma.
Well, Danny's a heck of a trainer, and Randy and I got with Danny several years ago, and he was training our horses. We said, Danny, you need to get some better horses. You're a quality trainer. You improve these horses, and we tried to go out and buy some to give Danny the opportunity to get out there and win some races and some big races. Well, here he is now. I can't get in the barn and get a conversation with him anymore.
That's good. But I was going to say, boy, the folks over here at the windows think they're gamblers, but you buy a weanling, you're a gambler.
It's tough.
Jumping in a weanling. But we've talked now about buying, and you mentioned jumping in on some horses that I experienced, so I want to touch on one more. Society Man, again, been working up here. You jumped in right before the Derby, subsequently won the Matt Win in its last start, and as I say, Society Man's been working up here. Will we see Society Man in Saratoga?
He's going to run next Sunday at the West Virginia Derby.
Okay.
I caught a lot of grief buying in him right before the Derby, but Danny said, look, there's some people want to buy into you, and gave me the opportunity to do that. And I said, look, this is a good magic. Even though he's a gelding, this horse can win some races. Yeah. The Derby didn't quite go our way. We were out in I thought we were in Lexington with our post draw. I think we were 20.
You were.
So,
you had the 1 and the 20.
The 1 and the 20.
That was the funniest part.
But this horse comes back and wins the Matt Win. Yeah. So now everybody's telling me how smart I was. So it's the way it works, right?
It's the game.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, we appreciate the visit this morning, certainly. And we have to talk about the horse this afternoon before we wrap it up. And I lost my sheet. There we go.
Fabulous Fox.
I pulled up a replay going back to June 21st. Fabulous Fox in the 7th race today. Give us some thoughts on that one.
Another nice filly. We paid a lot for her, but she is really progressing. I'm excited the way she's getting to the front and how well she's doing. IRAD's doing a great job on her and getting to know the horse. We got onto this kick about naming things from Atlanta. So the Fabulous Fox is a theater in Atlanta.
Sure.
And I love the name Fabulous Fox. Our other filly that is named Silver Skillet is named after the restaurant there in Atlanta, right downtown, called the Silver Skillet. And it's the best place you can go for breakfast or lunch in Atlanta.
Yes.
So we look forward to the race today. And I feel like I'm in a slump this month, so hopefully she'll get us a win and we can get on the board.
There's plenty of Saratoga left.
There is. I'm going to finish strong. That's what I keep telling myself. We're going to finish strong.
And that one's in the 4th race today. I think I might have said the 4th race for
3-1
Fabulous
with
Fox.
IRAD.
Yeah. All right, Dean, we really appreciate the visit.
Thank you.
Wish you a lot of good luck going forward at the meet, and we appreciate your stopping by.
Great. Enjoy it, as always.
All right.
Thanks.
Always
Before we wrap, I think they just went to a close-up of you, Steve, and they wanted you to repeat your play of the day before we wrap it up.
So they're going to put. I see what they're going to
pop the graphic up. And
all right. Well, then over here. The DePaula play of the day, and we'll have to wait until 6:19 post time for the 10th. And Two's a Crowd is the play. This is a cloud computing gelding that Derek Ryan is bringing up from Monmouth. And Ryan has been hitting with alacrity with his New York shippers. And, of course, he'll ship up from Jersey in the Alan Jerkins with Bookham Dano in just 4 weeks. But this horse came back for his 3-year-old debut in July, the opening weekend, and ran kind of a sneaky, solid race. Now comes back and stretches out to the mile and a 16th, is going to save ground inside under IRAD, and gets Lasix for the first time. At 8-1, he's a terrific key because I think he's going to sit right behind the speed and finish. And at 8-1, the 2's a Crowd, your DePaula play of the day. Good luck, everybody.
Also, the David Aragona pick, so now I have to take a second look at that one since you both liked them. And just quickly remind people to beat Byk as well.
Beat Byk today. Yesterday we used the Vanderbilt, and Subrogate did not run a step, actually. And so those of you that went with Nakatani, you're qualified. Today, it's the Eddie Reed, which goes off at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, out in Del Mar. And it is a terrific, terrific running of the Eddie Reed. 9-horse field. I'm using Gold Phoenix, who I've been a long-term fan of, but you've got a lot of options. Johans out in that spot. Masterpiece from Mike Ivarone and Rick Dutrow. There's plenty of choices. It's a tough spot. All you have to do is qualify. To qualify for the September final is either come with me on a selection, and if we win, you're qualified, or if you don't like who I picked, pick your own, win, and you'll be able to play in September, third week in September, for a seat at the NHC at the Horseshoe Las Vegas. Good luck.
Go to the NYRA website. Beat Byk. You can play every weekend. All right, we'll wrap it up. We appreciate the visit this morning by Michael Lauer, David Aragona, and Dean Reeves. We appreciate your stopping by. Appreciate the great feedback, too. Get every week after the Sunday shows. I hear a lot of great things on the front side. I always appreciate that as well. Enjoy this afternoon. As far as the morning programming, we're back on Wednesday, 9 a.m. handicapper support, 10 a.m. racing across America. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.